I'm Kelly Siegel, and this is Harder Than Life, a podcast about self-love, self-awareness, business, and health. We tell outrageous stories and boil everything down to simple, practical advice you can start using today. Let's get living.
Welcome to the Harder Life podcast, where we delve into stories of those who push the boundaries of possibility. I'm your host, Kelly Siegel, and today we have two extraordinary guests who epitomize resilience, innovation, entrepreneurial spirit, and this is take two because we lost the last stuff, but it happens. What I love about this is that we get to do this again, and now I really know you. And we get to deep dive into this stuff. So we have Shawn Finnegan, a serial entrepreneur renowned for his expertise in scaling business through the power of relationships.
Amen to that.
I call him a super connector.
Yes.
Alongside Shawn is Debbie Hart, the driving force behind Ignition Point events and platforms dedicated to empowering entrepreneurs of all ages and stages. The funniest thing is, before we hit record, she was inviting us to a bunch of freaking events already. These two are absolutely amazing. They embody giving, and never asking for anything back. So let's get ready to be inspired to explore the journeys of Shawn and Debbie on the Harder Than Life podcast. So let's jump right in. So we're going to go right into what inspired you guys to prioritize relationships, community, and resources in your entrepreneurial program.
Me? I'm just really passionate about, like you said, giving to make sure that people who have that calling in their heart or that desire, they have a product or a service that either they're passionate about or a problem they're trying to solve. And entrepreneurs are a rare breed. Most of us were not born or raised that way. We decided to forge our own path because we're different. And so it's hard, so hard. They feel alone. There's so many challenges. There's 1,000 different hats you have to wear, and most people just don't know what they don't know. So we have just found that we love people, and we love providing resources for them to learn faster, easier, better, and to build that community so that they have that connection and that support so that they can succeed.
Shawn, about you, buddy?
She's so awesome, right? We, there's a great book, Who Not How, and we're a big believer in the who, right? Because entrepreneurs just say, how do I do this? How do I do this? And they can't be everything to everyone, and they wear all these hats and they get bogged down. And that's where I found Debbie. She came to me and said, hey, I'm doing this podcast. And I was like, okay, I found my who, because I love podcasts. I watch your podcast. It's awesome, dude. Especially when your shirt's off. I
haven't done anything with my shirt off, but you want me to take it off now?
Yo, for sure, dude.
It's your podcast. Do whatever you want.
I'm in your jigs. That's another thing too, guys. I just love being here. I mean, I just told you before we hit record, I turned the corner to come here, and this is a very special place to me. It's filled with love.
Yeah.
And you just meet everybody. Both of you meet everybody where they are and expect nothing in return.
Yeah.
And, we didn't say this. I mean, this is where I met Brittany, and it's very special to me, and we're always trying to help each other. So thank you for being you. And it's my job today to make sure that everybody gets to know you guys.
Yes.
Because what you're offering, what you do to actually make money is a really good service as well.
Yeah.
But you never talk about it.
Right.
Why don't you deepen it? Wait.
Yeah.
I want to get into this hard thing, because this week, that's why I'm so glad we're re-recording this right now. My brand, Harder Than Life, is supposed to be, you're supposed to overcome and be resilient enough to overcome. You said hard 4 times. So I think that we need to change that hard. And the hard is supposed to be hard, but you don't have to expect it to be hard. By saying it's hard, we're almost putting it out in the universe and creating our hard. This last week, I was just meeting with a business coach, and he did this priming exercise with me and said, hey, everything doesn't have to be hard. And it changed my whole outlook. So I wake up every morning and I prime myself and say, things come easy. Business comes easy. Life comes easy. I want to challenge people that in this last week, you're probably going to see a softer Kelly. So that's what you do. So explain how you come about that from your past all the way through to now. And then we're going to get into you next time, because your past has never been easy until probably now.
I love what you said, though. Where your focus goes, your energy flows, right?
Yes.
So that's for you. It's like you wake up every day, this is going to be an easy, great day. And it's all that mindset. I just dropped my daughter off at school and I was like, hey, tell me about your day. How's it going to go today? Because I want her to visualize what that looks like, right? But years ago, I mean, I started a business in 2009. 2009 was a bad year to start a business. Like, I wish someone would have shaken me at the time. It was like, don't start a business. Because it was a recession. I mean, the water cooler talk at the time was foreclosing. It was just a miserable time of life. And I decided that's the great time to go start a business. And so I built a spreadsheet, said I'd be a millionaire. The spreadsheet was like looking good. You know, sometimes you get caught up in your projections and you get pretty amped. And so I was amped at the time. And I went out and raised money. So I raised 1.5 million from 23 investors. So 70 of them I met with, 23 said yes. So I had a lot of no's. And you just have to be resilient and you have to keep going. And it's not them rejecting you, it's them rejecting the deal. So I kept just powering through that and I got 1.5. So if you got in a time machine, went back to that, Shawn Finnegan, I was a CEO according to my LinkedIn. I had an incredible spreadsheet that said I'd be a millionaire and I had 1.5 in the bank and my dad's a bookstore manager. So I was like, you know, it was almost like the Titanic, king of the world kind of thing, because it was the Titanic after that. Over the next 12 months, I lost the 1.5, just trying to figure things out. My first event I did with David Bach, paid him $70,000. He's the Automatic Millionaire author. $70,000. I did direct mail to fill the room. It was a live event. I was really excited about it. I had 500 chairs sitting down there. And my direct mail hit 2 weeks after the event. So I had about 30 to 40 people in the room and 500 chairs. And here he comes rolling in a limousine and he's going to get out and give a presentation. And I'm the promoter. And it was the most miserable, dig a hole and jump in and bury yourself. You just wanted to run. It was like, felt like flight. I was like, I want to run out of this space, and just went through a lot of miserable things and lost the 1.5. Thursday night was a rock bottom, didn't sleep. Next day I had $2,500 in the bank. I was down on payroll, so I couldn't make it. I couldn't make payroll. And which meant I had put my house up at this point. I was more than 1.5 down. My house and car were up, right? So next morning I'm praying for miracle. Miracle doesn't come. I go to lunch, get a call from my controller, and she said, hey, Shawn, I found $3,000 in petty cash. What do you want me to do with it? And I was like, keep the money with you. I'm going to screech my tires, go back, pick it up. I went to the bank and I made payroll by $1,000, $2,000. And it was in that moment I committed to do something. One thing I said I'm going to do now is I'm going to get comfortable being very uncomfortable, and I'm going to reach out to people and start building relationships. Actually, at the time, I was like, how are these guys doing? I pulled up all these old pictures online of Steve Jobs and some of these empire builders, and I was like, how are they doing it? And what I found is they were never alone in these pictures. For the most part, it was Steve Jobs and Wozniak, or it was all these people around it. No one builds an empire by themselves. There's no such thing as self-made. And I was like, I have to do what they do. I have to actually get out of my lane and build relationships. And I have to be like they are, right? And so from that moment on, that afternoon, I made phone calls to my network and I got a hold of a couple of guys, one guy in particular who was wealthy. He came ultimately on board, and I went on this crazy run where we did millions in sales, millions and millions and millions. And I was able to pay off the original investors plus interest back, right? But so that's where it's like deep seated for me. You talk about, where does this come from? Why do I do this? It's like, that's the moment I committed in 2009 to always get comfortable being uncomfortable and reaching out to you. And you get introduced from me by our friend Cody. And immediately I'm like, yeah, let's build a relationship. You came to an event. You met Brittany at the event. So I'm also Cupid, right?
Matchmaker.
Yes. Talk about scaling. You got introduced at the event.
You said so many things there. So you took action, but it was misaligned. It's not even misaligned. What was the term you would say? You didn't have a goal in mind, or what? You said you didn't do it alone. So what was the learning point there? What was the point that you took away that you just couldn't do it alone?
Yeah. So basically, if you got Good to Great, it's one of the greatest all-time books. And I thought about that so much. It's like, get the right people on the bus. And I just put my head down in the sand because I was knee deep in crocodiles. I was literally talking to creditors at the time, avoiding phone calls. I mean, this is a miserable time of life. And then I had this buddy, his name is Kevin. He'd come up to me like, hey, I got this great event. You should come to this event. There's great business guys. You can get good advice. And I was like, I'm not doing that. Why would I take time out of my schedule? I'm a CEO running this business. And that was the very reason why I failed, is because I didn't reach out of my lane.
It's just wild because there's so many good things that you did right, and you could do all the right things. So you have the right inputs and still not get the outcome that you desire. So 23 out of 70. So you reached out to 70 people and were not discouraged. You said something, they rejected the offer, not you, which is a great little one-liner in there. Realize it's never personal. Don't take anything personal. So you took action, you achieved success, you lost it all, and then you built it back up. You're a true entrepreneurial dream. And I've heard that story 3 times now. It never gets old.
Yeah.
So kudos to you. Don't do it alone. Success has help, and do it with positivity and do it with relationships. Now, Miss Debbie, your story is bananas, and I want you to get as vulnerable as you did last time, and tell, when you say hard, you're going back to that lady. What was I know it, but what was your low point that made you say, hey, I got to find my super connector, Shawn?
Well, unfortunately, it took way too long to find super connectors. I didn't know about networking or resources. I didn't even know what entrepreneurship was. I was a stay-at-home homeschooling mom about 12 years ago, and that was what I felt was my passion and my calling in life. I had 6 children, and I was married, and my whole world was being a good wife and a good mom.
I'm literally, when I know it's coming, my heart is fluttering for you, because I am so proud of you, and I'm in true greatness right here. It's just, you could have run and hid and said, I'm done, I lost the 1.5, I'm a failure. What people are about to say is bananas. By the way, before I do this, I'm going to tease her. My producer told me I got to tell people to follow the Harder Than Life show. Please leave reviews so we can book some massive guests, because it helps the algorithm. So please, when you're going to hear this story, it is bananas. So good. And I just want to tell you that I love you, because that's why I woke up this morning. I was excited to come here. And you're like, get your butt back out. No problem. You asked me to come do it. I'm coming.
I really appreciate
all right.
it.
So the teaser is it. Follow it. Harder Than Life. Rate it. Please leave a review because of this amazing story you're about to hear.
Well, and that's why we love your podcast too. The resilience is what we believe in. Those are the stories we share on our podcast as well. That's what drew us together, is sharing those stories to empower others to overcome and succeed regardless of what happens around you. Because it's not what happens to you, it's what you choose to do with it. And there is a determining factor, because everyone has to walk through fire. But some people do get better and some people do get bitter. And it's a decision that you have to make. And that's your ignition point. That's how we came up with that brand idea.
Nice. Ooh, I like that.
But it's, when you find someone who's really driven and ambitious and passionate about something, it's usually because it's fueled by a strong why. A story like what you heard Shawn go through. So yes, I have a story too. I was not always a businesswoman nor an entrepreneur. I was a dedicated wife and mother. I had little side hustles, but they always revolved around my kids. I would teach community theater or singing and dancing lessons or something like that involved them and would bring them with me. I still actually bring them with me. We just do different things. But so about 12 years ago, I just thought that was always going to be how things were. Originally, I got married and started having babies right out of high school. Like, I hadn't even been graduated a year when my first child arrived.
By the way, you don't even look old enough to have children, and you have
Hottest
6.
grandma
and
ever.
I'm a grandma.
And she's a grandma.
2 grandkids.
Guys, if you're not watching this on YouTube, head over and check it out on YouTube, because she's beautiful inside and out.
Yeah,
and 6 children. How old are the grandchildren?
The boy just turned 2 and the girl is about to turn 1.
Adorable.
And what are the age ranges of the 6 children?
The kids are 26 down to 14. So I have 2 teenage boys at home with me still. And I do still homeschool. So they come with me to these events. Wow. They network, they help with registration, they take videos and edit them for me. They're all very still involved in my life and me and theirs.
Yeah, that's the way it should. My daughter is big on it as well. So I keep stealing your thunder because I'm so excited. Wait, I just want to come back over here. Shawn, how old is your daughter?
I have a 27, 25, and 18.
27,
Yeah,
25.
so I have 2 married daughters and then 1 left at home.
27, 25.
Yeah.
And wait, 3 daughters?
3 daughters. I'm a girl daddy.
dad.
So
Yeah,
you don't
for
have
sure.
a single boy. Oh boy.
Yeah.
I got one and I get all right, I'm going to bow down to you even more. 3 girls and a wife. Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
You know what's amazing about him though, because
Everything?
yes. But we host teen entrepreneurship events, and he mentors some of those teens. He actually came out to my homeschool group to mentor the group of teen boys. I did the girls' night, and he came out and did the boys' night, even though none of them were his biological sons. Obviously, he drove clear down to where we live to go do that. So he's supportive of teens as well as entrepreneurs of any age.
I just want to bring in there, he's supportive of everybody.
Everybody.
I'd like to see how you, and we're going to come back to you in a minute because your story is so good. How do you deal with negativity or negative people?
Yeah.
I've never seen, first of all, I think you repel them. Those energy vampires,
Yeah.
those negative
Yeah.
Nellies.
Yeah.
You cannot help but be happy around you. How do you do, but we inevitably run into them. Someone who's just having a bad day. How do you deal with them?
Yeah. So I literally, I mean, I think your focus is so important. That's what you're working on right now, trying to, have an intention on the day, right? And my intention is to live life to the fullest. I'm living all out, man. I mean, all out.
How do you bring that out from your subconscious though?
Literally, I do these micro intentions throughout the day. So I'll go in, I have an intention coming into this room. I wanted to engage and engage with the people that watch the show, and engage with you and Brittany. So do you just go in? A lot of people, it's really easy to do. You go in before every meeting. Some people just go from the hip and they just kind of roll with the punches and they float, versus actually, what's my intention right now in the next hour? Hey, I'm on a sales phone call. What do I want? What do I want the outcome? How do I want to act on this call? How do I want to feel? How do I want to make them feel? I visualize what I want that to look like. I mean, every hour you can do that all day long. I'm a huge, huge believer in it. Like going to events, some people just melt. You, on the other hand, when you went in, you were just dynamite. You got up to the mic, asked questions. It's how you show up to everything.
There's an energy about both of you that I cannot explain, and I will figure it out. But like I said, I didn't know who you were. We were introduced by Cody. We got on a phone call, and the phone call didn't even last that long. Yeah. Hey, I'm Kelly. Hey, I'm Shawn. Hey, you're coming to Utah? Yes. Okay, come to my office. Okay.
Yeah.
you could have asked me to be. But it just this through the phone was this positive love, and I could feel that. So I almost would tell you that I think you repel or you transform the energy. That's a superpower, Shawn.
Yeah,
that is his freaking superpower. Because what I was trying to say to you guys about my intention every day, unbeknownst to me, was to deal with hard things. That's harder than life. Now I just took that one little frame where I said, hey, they're not hard.
Yeah.
That's just life things.
Yeah.
So you're giving absolute dimes here. This is just gems after gem, because I've never seen you in a bad mood. Have you ever gotten in a bad mood?
No, I mean, I definitely have had my moments, right? You're in the deep, dark pit at times, but I love waking up, and I just think life's short now. I have a different perspective. I want to come in. I want to live it all. I want to be the very, very, very best version of me. And I'm driving. I'm not there, but I'm driven for it.
Yeah, better every day. All right, let's go back to Miss Debbie. This story is so good, and I still want to find this guy and wring his neck, but no. All right, let's go back.
If you found him, can you imagine?
No, because truly, he's my greatest teacher.
Boom.
Yeah, there you go.
Look at the reframe.
I am literally the driven and ambitious woman that I am today only because I went through what I went through.
Happened for
and
you.
I completely love who I have become, and I never would have become this person had I not gone through that.
Yeah. Everything happens for you.
Yeah. It truly does.
Yeah. So tell the people what happened.
All right.
This is the suspense music. That's the start.
Again, I shared this on the last one that, the audio didn't work. I didn't like sharing this story forever. I only recently, less than a year ago, started sharing it because, first of all, I am grateful now. And I don't want to live in that space, right? I don't want to be a victim of circumstance. I am, like Shawn, always striving to be a better human. And when people get stuck in their victim stories, I mean, you're justified. Your feelings are valid, but where does it get you? Nowhere. The train to nowhere, right? And so we've got to learn from it. and use that to propel ourselves forward into our greatness. It's a choice. So if we want to talk about the sad stuff all day, every day in the victim space, we stay there forever. That's that determining factor of whether you get better or you get bitter. So I didn't want to share it for the longest time. And yet I learned, I kept feeling that moment inside of that, that feeling inside of me that it's time to start sharing this. Speakers kept telling, I was doing these big events promoting everyone else except myself. Because
everybody pays attention over here. They don't have to focus on me.
Shawn's so much better than I am. Just pay attention to him.
Yeah, right.
And so are all these other people. They're amazing. They have incredible stories and their success and all the things. So I'm like, yes, I want everyone to succeed. Come meet all the people that are succeeding that can show you how. And then everyone's like, who are you? Like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Well, this is why. Well, you've got to share why. So I started.
The only thing about that, and I'm speaking for mine, and I think that you guys are very similar, and I've talked to a lot of people that have been through this, through hardships. You have to heal
first
before, and that's when you know you're healed. When you can rattle off that hardship and just say, and this is what I learned. And I've noticed one more thing, and this is why I share this, because people want to hear the lows, and they want to hear how you crawled out of it, and then they want to hear that point where the hero, where the victim becomes the hero. And that's where all of us are right now. And it was at that moment that you decided to take back your power. So you're going to tell us that, but remember, if you're in the thralls of life right now, and it's hard to tell that story, there's still healing to do. That's what God is telling you. That's what the universe is telling you, people. Amen. There's still healing to do. You're not a victim. The world isn't punishing you.
Yep.
And keep going. That's what makes this freaking harder than life, better than life. That's what it's just, and believe me, you see the smile on all three of your faces, all three of our faces. It's worth it.
It's true.
That right there is what launched the Ignition Point brand, is because I was so inspired by those stories. And I thought, well, if I'm so inspired, I'll bet other people are too. Let's just throw this idea out there, see if people want to come and hear these stories from other entrepreneurs and see if it works. So 21 days later, as you know, 150 people showed up. So, okay, there's a market for this. People want these stories. So we said, we'll just grab these speakers while they're here, turn it into a podcast. And it just grew from there. But I had to start sharing mine too, because the audience was asking.
How painful was it?
So it was really hard the first times. I did like a 3-minute version, maybe not even that long. But here's what happened.
What happened?
And I thought it was going to be for some struggling single mom in the audience. I thought maybe it's for someone who's in the space that I was in 10 years ago. No, it was a man that came up to me in tears at the first break at that event. And I had only shared the 3-minute version. And a man came up to me in tears and said, I didn't know why I was here today. And I needed to hear that story because I'm in that moment right now. And I needed to know there was a way out. And that's why we share those stories.
The way
out. That you need to know you're not alone in that. Everyone walks through fire. No one escapes life unscathed. But there's ways out. You don't have to stay stuck in that victim state forever. Good. So we share those stories of struggle, but then the way to overcome. We ask these entrepreneurs who have achieved massive levels of success, those stories like what Shawn shared. But how did you overcome that to become who you are today? That's what inspires people.
What I try to do, and I believe that Shawn has mastered this too, is so Brad Lee has a book, The Hard Way. He says, we're all going to learn it one way or the other. Why do we continue to learn it the hard way? So I try to inspire and model the behaviors of learning it really the easy way.
Right.
So let's do that because we did it the freaking hard way. So
if
you're listening and you're a teenager or listen, we'll show you the way of not to do it.
You can learn from other people's failures.
Exactly. That's the fast shave decades of years off of experience and heartache by just learning from someone else.
So again,
here we are.
I keep stealing the thunder, and it's
okay. It's your show. Steal the thunder.
No, it's so tell us because it's just melts my heart.
So for me, yes, my what I had felt, my calling and passion in life at the time was to be a devoted wife and mother of these 6 children. And I wasn't going to work until the youngest was in school. And this was before I was homeschooling, but because I wanted to be there with them. I thought I didn't have 6 babies to pay someone else to raise them. I am their mom. I want to be the one raising them. Since I started having these babies so young after high school and so quickly, my first 2 were only 10 and a half months apart. So I had them both during the year I was 19. And then my second 2 were 12 and a half months apart, and so on and so on. So I have these 6 little kids, and I'm going to go to school and develop a career someday when they're older. But, you know, as we know, someday is not a day of the week. Someday never came for me, because when my youngest had just turned 3 and it was the middle of winter, January afternoon, I got a knock.
Wait for it.
On the door. Some strange guy handing me some paperwork I was not prepared to receive. It was divorce papers for one, and an eviction notice attached to it as well. That same attorney, knowing I was an uneducated stay-at-home mom with no income of my own, wrote a letter that said, "This is not your home, and if you're not off the property immediately, you'll be arrested for trespassing." And I found out quickly the bank accounts had also been emptied out, so I couldn't get an attorney. I didn't know that wasn't legal, nor would you really even want to stay in that kind of situation anyway. And the kicker is those divorce papers he didn't even spell my name right. 16 years of marriage, and my name was spelled wrong on the papers. It just goes on and on. But so I had to go gather up my 6 kids and say, "You've got 5 minutes to pack your most favorite things. We're never coming home." And not only is dad not coming home and we don't have a home, but you have to leave your school and your friends, and you have to quit piano and karate and turn in your violin. They lost everything right along with me. And we had to bounce around in other people's basements for 3.5 years, because since I had not developed a career or gotten a degree, I couldn't get a job that would pay me enough to cover even daycare for 6 people, let alone our living expenses. And I didn't have a network. And I didn't know people like you or Shawn. I didn't know any other entrepreneurs. I didn't even know what networking was. But I knew I had to be home with my kids, and no one else was there to raise them or feed them or clothe them. So I had to figure it out the hard way. Because I also didn't have any podcasts to listen to. I don't think Joe Rogan was a thing back then.
I was going to say, with all due respect, though, we're talking 2012, right?
Yes.
So,
yeah.
I mean, there's a lot has changed in the last.
Yeah.
A few things have changed in 12 years.
Yeah,
a few things within the world and within myself. So I took the only thing I knew that I was good at. I had people skills. I had my desire. What my someday was, I was going to go be a marriage and family psychologist. Actually, oddly enough, I love psychology. I love people. I love knowing what makes them tick. Why do they do what they do? So the fastest and easiest track to that was life coaching, hypnotherapy. So that's what I did. And I would see people for like $65 an hour, either in my home, or I'd use a neighbor's house in their little office while they babysat my kids. And I'd get 2 or 3 sessions in a day, 2 or 3 days a week. And I made it work. And then I would invest in myself again. I would save up and go get another training. I would fly to Santa Barbara multiple times to take a strategic intervention, which is Tony Robbins' top training, because I wanted to master what I was doing. I'm like, if I'm going to be working with people's hearts and minds and lives, I better be dang good at that. And you know this because you coach people and you're changing their lives. You better know what you're doing, because there's a lot of frauds out there.
Oh, don't we know it?
So I scaled and scaled and scaled myself, which then scaled my results in life. And my children as well. As I learned and I grew, I would teach these things to them, and I would watch them implement. And they went through all of that with me. You know, my poor daughter, we're living in someone's basement. She's like, "Can I ask the people upstairs if my prom date can pick me up up there. So he doesn't have to come through their garage and down those stairs. My gorgeous 16-year-old daughter had to ask things like that. That first month before we even got on welfare, it takes some time, and I had no food. We literally got people who brought us like expired food storage is what we had to eat. But I'm grateful for that, but do I want to go through it again? No. Do I want other people to have to go through that again? No, which is why we're so passionate about getting this education out, right? We blast those podcast stories everywhere on every platform. I have now created a platform of training for entrepreneurs at all of those stages. We have teen classes. I have like this virtual MBA that's a year long that entrepreneurs can access for $97 a month because it's everything I wish I had had 12 years ago.
Is the foundation, let me rephrase this question. If you could go back and do it all over again, and don't give me the personal development, everything happens the way it was supposed to, if you could do one thing over again, like I'll give you mine. I wish I would have started personal development a little bit earlier, and I wish that there was just a little bit of love, a little bit more love and safety in my house, because there was none. I was scared to death for 16 years, from 0 to 16 till I moved out of the house. I was scared to death. Yeah. I just wish a little bit of love. What's the one thing, do you wish that you would have gone back and got educated?
Yeah.
That's what you
I do, and yet I don't, because then I also wouldn't have fully been as involved with my children as I was. And I wouldn't miss that for the world, because it goes really fast. 4 of them are grown and gone. And I see them a lot, most of them. But it changes. Even my 16-year-old son made some comments about his 14-year-old brother and wanting to hang out with him more, because he's like, wow, my other siblings are gone, and they're just gone. We don't see them a lot, maybe once a month.
You're tremendously remarkable, and that story just never gets old. And it makes me feel like what I went through was a walk in the park. But having said that, the more remarkable story is how you don't hold a grudge, and how you've taught your kids to not hold a grudge to this man. Talk about that, because I don't even know the guy, and I want to kill him.
No. We're not going there. My children watch these things. So,
but no, again, you speak.
No, truth. He's my greatest teacher, and truth. I'm grateful, because I would have stayed forever complacent in my comfort zone where there is no growth, because I didn't know anything better. And some of us compel ourselves, and some of us must be compelled. And I didn't know what I didn't know. So I was compelled into, again, who I am now. And our events and our podcasts and the things that we do make a big impact. And I'm not saying that as like a woo-woo, look at us, but we get thank you messages on a daily basis. And I screenshot every one of them, because of that history. I do still have moments of sadness and feeling not good enough and imposter syndrome. And I have to pull those out and remember, this is why we do this. This is why we're getting on stages. This is why we're sharing this message, because people have started businesses because of us. They have scaled their relationships because of us. Mm-hmm. And those things are happening because we listened to that calling and put it out there and took action. And so I never, ever would have become that person and made all of that impact with all of those riffles had I just stayed in my comfort zone forever.
No, you didn't take the bait, but I'm going to say it. So if you hold on to the grudge, you're drinking the poison, expecting them to die.
Exactly.
And you moving on and healing and is the biggest FU. Yeah. And it's the biggest
it's not
winning.
About
and
it's
the biggest taking your power back and winning.
Yeah.
And showing your kids, this is what life is about. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is going to happen. Because we can look at Brittany, we look at Shawn, we look at Mike. Any person who's has any success has been kicked out of their house proverbially. Everybody has their story.
And I meet people. I meet people with huge levels of success that maybe they actually don't have these dark stories as much. Everyone's been through stuff, but I noticed there's some shallowness there. There's not that real depth of conviction and empathy that you only find forged in those fires of having gone through those things. And, character development, that's why we're here, developing our soul, developing our character. And the only way to do it is by going through those things. And so the quicker you can become grateful for them, they say hindsight is 20/20, but if you can find gratitude in the moment, literal, honest, genuine, authentic gratitude for those things in that moment, the hindsight, you can shave those 20 years off of that. You get connected to your soul and your purpose and your higher power, and you see why it's happening right now.
Well, I don't know. For me, I'm going to speak for me only. First of all, thank you for sharing that. You from the last episode to this episode, your light is brighter. Your love is stronger. Your conviction is stronger. So that's why we didn't. Yeah. We lost the recording of the last.
That happened for us too.
For a reason. Yeah.
Oh, I was going somewhere and I lost my train of thought. It was, but I wanted to give you the thing. Oh, it was, so when difficult things happen, when challenges happen, what I do is I don't know why it's happening. You said that you can figure out why it's happening. I just look up at God and I just say, I don't know what you're trying to teach me, but I'm receptive.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yes.
I know there's something in here and it will reveal it, but I release it. Mm-hmm. Because there's an expectation that we have right there. And, oh, it's supposed to be this way. And, oh, it rained today and it was supposed to be nice and all these plans. Well, so what?
Yeah.
What power are we giving it? So I just look up and go, good one, God.
I'm gonna use that as a segue back to him, because I want to say, there's in that moment, so many people were like, oh, I'd hate to be him on the other side, or what, I'm like, that's not what it's about. That's not what I want. I don't want revenge. What good does that do?
Wait a minute.
Go ahead, sorry. What I want is
he was
peace
offering it up.
and prosperity for me and my children right now. And that has nothing. You can either spend your energy fighting the past or you can spend it building the future, but you can't do both. And Shawn has a very beautiful example of that. He hasn't shared a lot. Your forgiveness story. Right. Will you share that too?
Yeah. Well, hold on a second. Let me just start with the best revenge is winning and letting know they didn't do anything to derail you. All it did is make you tougher. That's the best revenge. Even though we don't want revenge, but it feels good. It does.
So this one, because I follow all your stuff, so I know what you talk about in alcohol and other things is really fascinating to me. I kind of had this experience. That's what Debbie mentioned. So years ago, I had this business partner. He was like at his soul, the best Foxhole person on the planet. You know what I mean? That's why he became my business partner. Just a salt of the earth. Like he would literally help the bum on the street.
Just deep. Explain what you mean by Foxhole. I know what you mean. Yeah. Some people might not understand.
Foxhole is like literally. It's I consider it like you mentioned the moving friend that if you called him at 2:00 in the morning and said, "Hey, dude, I need help tomorrow morning. Can you cancel your work and be here in the morning to help me?" There's a very few friends, and it's a small handful that you would actually say, if I'm actually in trouble, if my family's in trouble, they're my first call. And I want to be that person to people. Boom. And that's who this guy was. And we became great partners, best friends. If I had an issue, he would have been that person that would have come out to help me 100%. Well, he had been sober for 7-8 years and had really big bouts with alcohol before that time. And he was just sharp, crushing, went to his meetings, everything else. And finally, one night we're at dinner or the Hard Rock, and he decides something switches in his mind. And he says, I'm going to drink. And we're with other business associates. And I'm like, don't do it. Don't, please. Because I knew of all of his stories beforehand. I just knew it was not a good thing for him. And he literally ordered it. And then he went to the restroom and I took it and I dumped it out. And then he saw me dump it out. So he went back he was determined to drink that night. So he went to the bar. I could see him take a shot, his first shot in 7 years. And from that first shot, literally it turned into, as a business partner, extremely challenging. I mean, multiple times. Like we would go to Vegas for events, doing business. I would always go to bed at like 9:30. I'd watch a movie at night, right? And one night he's been drinking so much that I'm at dinner and I was like, hey, Jim, come back with me. And he says, no, I'm going to keep going. And I go back to my bed and I try to sleep and I can't sleep because I'm in my mind, I'm picturing this guy face down in the strip somewhere, right? And so I got up and walked the strip looking for my friend, right? And just really difficult. And we had other people involved, and ultimately he hit this fever pitch. He goes out of the country for a while and just hits to this point where I can't do it anymore. And I call him up and I say, hey, we got to negotiate a split. And we negotiated a split, and it was cordial. And he's like, I totally get it. I understand. And there was a big monthly. I said, hey, I'll pay you this. I just have one condition. Just don't compete with me. And here's a big monthly. Just go get yourself, healthy. And then after that, he would text me and say, hey, let's go boating like we did before. Let's go boating together. And it's like, no, sorry, man, I'm busy. A couple times he texted me, hey, do you have time for lunch? I ghosted him multiple times. I just was so done with the chaos. I was like, I'm shifting gears. Long story short, within a short period of time, I find out that he's competing with me. And it's pretty black and white for me. I'm like, I have a contract. He's making a big fee. I'm just not going to pay him his fee. And I don't pay him his fee. It's like, oh, you're not going to pay me a fee? It turns into this thing. You talk about what you mentioned in poison. That was our first sip of poison. And then that sip of poison turned into a full year of horrific poison lawyers. It was just painful. I remember I was like, I got to talk to him at some point. So I was like, hey, let's go to Starbucks. Got out of our cars, worrying each other's face. We weren't going to go to blows. I mean, at the deep down, I still loved him. But we were yelling at each other. It's like, that's not me. And then all of a sudden, I would go to bed at night thinking about this individual. And I'd wake up in the morning and I'd think about it all day. And I felt like that black poison started entering my veins and filling my whole soul. And I just started obsessing on it. And he was doing the same. And ultimately, we got on the phone once and it was just, like, you did this, you did that, you did this. And then finally I said, hey, Jim, I just don't have any pain for you anymore. I don't have any poison. It's leaving my body in this moment. And I could actually feel it kind of leave at that moment. And we ended up getting together and negotiating a settlement and getting done with it because I was like, I'm not fighting this anymore. I'm going to settle this thing. So we settle it. We shake hands and we're like, we unpack some stuff. And then years later, it was like 2 years ago. So this is like 15 years ago. 2 years, it's still just gnawing on me. There's unfinished healing that needs to happen. And I start making a list of things that I did on my side. And I've realized that I was the one that caused all the problem. Because had I gone boating with him, had I been a friend still, had he needed anything, if I'd have just been there, if I wouldn't have ghosted him, he wouldn't have competed. He would have honored the agreement. And I had to take full 100% ownership. So I called him up and I just unpacked all that stuff.
Wait.
Yeah.
You didn't unpack. I just saw you're getting teary-eyed.
Yeah, dude.
So what did you really do? Be vulnerable.
So I called him up and it was like a 3-hour conversation. And this is like a couple of years ago. It's been years. And I just unpacked all the stuff I had done. I said, hey, I remember when you texted me to go boating.
Freedom.
I remember you texted me to do this. I remember you texted me to do that. And heck, you were the kind of guy that I needed help, you would have helped me. If I was sick, you would have helped me. And it was actually this conversation that was just a beautiful end where it was like I could feel that last piece of healing between us. And he's now that guy. He's a Foxhole friend to me at this point.
Did you quit drinking?
I don't know. I hope so.
Man. I was triggered several times in there. And you guys remember, triggers are our own responsibilities. You can heal all you want.
Yeah.
You're still going to be triggered. Yep. It's dealing with the trigger. That's a beautiful story, Shawn. It's beautiful. The two of you, this is so much better than our first one. I don't even asking questions. You guys are just spitting fire. I got to try to unpack some of that. I wrote so many notes. I would always tell everybody the nuggets out of those, the value, the relationship over money.
Mm-hmm. Every time.
And I'm going to tell you one other thing, and I got a lot of lawyers and a lot of lawyer friends. But the second lawyers get involved, you've lost.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Amen
they're
to
the
that.
only ones that win.
Yep.
And I guarantee you, sorry for all you legal guys that make money off of the hourly billing.
Mm-hmm.
The second you have to lawyer up, you've lost.
Everyone has lost.
And
Yep.
the power of communication, Shawn. The power. And then all the way through, the most beautiful part of that was you calling up years later and still healing. That's the magic of doing the work, is that last little bit of healing. So, and I would say you led with love. That's really what it was. So
Yeah, and I talk to people all the time. It's like, I'll just sue. Like we were with one of our good friends. It's like, oh, they broke the contract. I sued. I'll be like, you sure? I mean, there is a time and a season for it, but
Yeah.
have you actually talked to that individual first? Mm-hmm. Do you want to save yourself a lot of headache? There's a great book called Crucial Conversations, and the most common way business owners mismanage a bad situation is they ignore it. Right? Number one by far. They don't address it. So what happens if you ignore the problem, it always inflames the problem. Right? So I'm like, hey, why don't you just go talk to the individual first? If you talk to the person that you're looking to sue multiple times and you can't work it out, hey, it's a business tool, but that is not your first option. Right?
Yeah.
You're going to fill yourself with poison. Just like you said, the second these lawyers get involved and you're not, hey, they're there to milk a file and to bill you as much as they possibly can.
Can I add to that?
Can I just add one real quick?
Yeah,
I would
please.
say, you say talk, and what you mean talk, you mean have a conversation, but I would go there and listen.
Yeah.
God gave you 2 ears and one mouth for a reason. We go there and we're going to win this we're going to win this fight, and we're go there just seeking to hear and listen and understand before understood.
Yeah.
That is the best thing. And I swear that's the one thing we should learn earlier in life.
Amen.
Seek to find the other person's point of view before yours. What were you going to add?
I'm going to add, I 100% agree with that, but I do want people listening to understand, because there are situations where they're going to say, I can't talk to that person. Like,
You know what
I
that means?
tried to fight, and my situation wasn't business, it was personal, but I tried to fight to get child support for years. You know, he got all the tax write-offs, all the stimulus money, everything, kept everything, even though I was raising the children. And I fought and fought and fought, trying to get what was rightfully mine, because I could not talk to this human. There's too much volatility there. And so I thought that was right, because I didn't know any other way to support 7 people on my own. But it wasn't until that moment that I let go and let God. I gave that up. I quit fighting the past and focused all my effort on building the new, that I started to succeed.
Let go
So
and let
yes,
God.
try to listen, try to talk. But I'm just saying, if you can't talk to that person, a lawsuit still might not be the way.
Yeah.
Well, again, you just made my point even more. So first of all, let go, let God. That's gold. If you go there and just listen, if you do 3 hours of listening, you'll make an advancement. When you go there and when someone says I can't talk to that person, it's because you're not listening and they're not listening. You haven't created a container for listening. It's the hardest thing to do. If you just go in and say I'm not going to talk, I'm just going to facilitate, and you will be better. So there's a book, Amy P. Kelly's book, How Difficult Conversations Don't Have to Be Difficult. I highly recommend
Love
reading
that.
it.
That's
It
great.
is so it's a fable,
Yeah.
but it's very quick and easy. I read it in like 3 hours.
Excellent.
I just had her on the podcast. She's brilliant.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. Don't
Yeah.
avoid the conversation.
Have a conversation.
And it could be it's awkward between us now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or start off with an apology. Hey, whatever your friend's name is, I'm sorry I wasn't available.
Yeah.
How did you feel?
Yeah.
And then you just shut up.
Right.
That's the speaking.
Yeah, yeah.
Spoke and then listen.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, Shawn, that was a dick move.
Right.
That sucked.
Yeah.
You know, I just needed some freaking companionship.
Right.
Now it's up to that person to say.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah.
they get all tough. This is a man macho thing.
Right.
Oh, nothing, man. He didn't do nothing. I didn't feel nothing. Blah,
Right.
blah, blah. That,
Yeah.
guys, I did that for years. Doesn't work.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
Yeah.
Vulnerability is cool. Vulnerability bonds.
Yes.
Amen.
You know, it's what builds trust. Shawn, I want to ask you a question because you never talk about it. We're in this big, beautiful building. It says Tax Hive on it.
Yes.
You're the founding investor of Tax Hive. You've helped entrepreneurs navigate the tax code. Nothing crazier than a tax code now in this crazy election year. So how does understanding tax implications strengthen an entrepreneur's position in the market? And how can people work with you? Because you have on the website this amazing offer of people like me that own companies that can come and get their taxes audited at just take it from there.
Amen. Okay. So if you're a W-2 person, you have a job and you're like, I'm going to go step out into that business world. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to start a business, even if it's a side hustle. I'm going to start a business. No one actually sits you down and talks about the code. I mean, literally, there should be some crash course you go on when you set up an entity, right? Because as a W-2 employee, you have up to 10 deductions is all. And people take 2 to 3. So then they're in the mindset of 2 to 3 deductions when they start their business, but the whole code was written for business owners. But the small business owner is underserved. They can't go to the big accounting for. They'll be like, oh, add a 0 or 2 and then come back and see us. So we fill that void. So we help a small business owner up to the biggers, and we help them stack up the deductions that they can actually qualify for. As a business owner, you can take up to 1,400 deductions, and you could probably qualify for many deductions that you just don't know about. And so instead of taking 2 or 3, why don't you as a business owner say, hey, why don't I start stacking up 5, 6, 7, whatever you can qualify for. And then that offsets the income, and you keep that income where it belongs in your business. So you can invest in your employees, your product, you can grow your company, and that's GDP. Overall, we pay 50% tax. It's not 25%. It's not, because you pay taxes everywhere you go. There's only a couple of negotiable: federal and state tax. Those are the ones as a business owner you should actually be proactive with, and you should actually do things about and start stacking up those deductions to offset that income, keep that business. You know, true wealth is actually what you keep, right? It's what's in your pocket at the end of the day, right? And so keep that wealth. It's so critical. That's what the wealthy ultimately do, and the small business owners just don't know anything about.
What's the website where they can go to get this free?
Yeah, so we'll include a blueprint. So we built a technology. It's just for the people that watch the show. They can actually get on there, answer 17 questions. It sends them an email directly to their email, and it will identify, thousands of dollars that they're not taking advantage of as we speak.
Remember, you guys have to send that to me.
Yes.
This is my show, so I want to make sure you get that.
That is
remarkable, guys, because this is what a lot of people are arguing about. Should the wealthy pay their fair share of taxes? And then we argue about the trickle down. But here's the thing: is I have multiple businesses. You have got to. I didn't know there were 1,400 possible deductions.
It's a treasure chest.
So if you go to the competition, and I'm not going to name any names, and you go and you do your online form, they'll ask you a couple of questions, and then you get the standard deduction. And you are losing out. So if you come to Tax Hive, I can guarantee that they're not going to give you just the standard deduction. You're going to get multiple and put more money in your pocket. This is not a political thing saying it won't happen. This will happen.
Amen.
So I wanted to share that because it's a great news. We're going to do more about that. I'm going to send out emails and offer this to the National Technology Management
Let's do it.
Customer base. So, anything else that you want to elaborate on that?
No, I think that's good. There's a lot of things that people don't know. Like there's an Augusta rule. You can rent out your house to your business for 14 days a year. Came from the actual Augusta city where the Augusta National Tournament is. They got tired of paying taxes on renting out their house to the people who watch the tournament for 14 days a year. So they went in front of Congress, got it approved, and that made it federal so everyone can do it. That's one example of the 1,400. So you should be doing that one every year.
That's crazy.
Those are the kind of things that if you just spend a little bit of time.
I just learned about, and I was telling Brittany about this, that there's a different SD IRA where you can do investing, different types of investing out of your 401k. You have to convert it. Right. But your nest egg that you can actually build money. Yeah. You can make more money investing. Guys, if you reach out to Tax Hive, they're very experienced. They understand how to do and not crack the code, but just work the code. This is why everybody hates Donald Trump because he's used every single loophole known to man. And they're legal. So reach out. Having said that, Debbie, I'm just fascinated by what your whole entire story. So, Debbie, In your experience, what role models do you follow, and who are you regularly listening to besides the Harder Than Life piece?
Shawn Finnegan. He's the number one. You heard it firsthand. He's got a lot of heart and soul, in addition to all of that business knowledge and experience. That's actually, I went seeking to find him, to meet him, because I kept hearing all of these people say, oh, this guy, Shawn Finnegan, changed my life. 1 hour with him, my life is better, my business is better. And I didn't go seeking that for myself. I just was like one of those, well, this guy has changed so many lives. Someone just needs to thank him. And my favorite thing is books and reading. So I grabbed my favorite book and I just set that intention. I said, this guy is here somewhere. I hear he's got this office up in the corner. I just was at an event here. I just intend to run into him. And I want to give them a thank you gift on behalf of all these people whose lives he's changed. And literally, we walked out of those bathrooms at the exact same time. Do you even remember that?
No, that's cool.
You don't. We walked out of the bathrooms at the same time, and I look over. I'm like, "Hey, I have a present for you." He's like, "Cool, what is it?" And he didn't even know me.
Psycho stalker?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
she was very sus.
So I gave him the book, and he invited me to lunch, and we started collaborating like everyone else who gets into a circle. But it was The Untethered Soul, and he had already read that. So Michael Singer. The Surrender Experiment is actually my favorite book, and I was going to give him that. Next. After. So, but I just like, he probably better read the first one first. And he's like, oh, I've already read this. It's one of my favorites. I'm like, oh, good. I'm going to give you the sequel though, because that's the one I actually wanted to give you.
Like you talk about surrender.
Oh, yeah.
You experience that in life.
I've read them.
It's because so Michael Singer is so that's basically his biography. He's going through those hard things and living in peace. The principles he teaches in the Untethered Soul while he's going through lawsuits and betrayal, and so it's exemplary of everything that we stand for.
How does it make you feel that she looks up to you?
No, I think it was so great, and I've never heard that piece, but I was also in the same position, right? Because you can see her based on her stories, a mom of 6 kids. She's a rare person where she's a visionary, but she's an executor, integrator person, right? She can do both. And here I saw someone who can do so much in the day. I was like, okay, this is the person, because I've been waiting for this person. I can't do the production she does. I'm more of a visionary kind of person. She's like going to come in and make sure, like right now, she does all our posts for the most part, and she runs shotgun on all of that stuff. And none of this would happen without her. So it was such a good fit. It was just like the souls collide. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You two are true gaslighters, but in all the positive way. And you never stop gassing each other up. Don't stop, man.
Yeah.
It's just, I love it. I walk out of here feeling 10 foot tall. So we're going to talk a little bit about that surrender and untethered soul a little bit, because I'm going to share something that just happened to me, and she's going to laugh at me. So I just did this priming exercise last week. I'm always working on myself. It's a problem, but I love it. I'm addicted to the expansion of my being. It is an addiction, and I love it. The growth is tremendous. When you see yourself not reacting to certain situations that you would have reacted poorly to before, it's just beautiful. Mm-hmm. So I have been working on just setting that intention, surrendering, allowing, and just being instead of doing.
Yeah.
So the first thing in the morning, if you remember when I was on your podcast, I told you I wake up and it's go time. I'm on. So now I wake up this last week and I just set everything's good, life's good, and I flow into the day instead of being harder than life. So part of it is what we did as a company, National Technology Management, we fed 200 families yesterday. I shut down the office. We took everybody, and we donated our time.
Dang.
And we donate, and we put food in people's cars who are less fortunate. Made me think of what you had to deal with when you first were in your situation. So we did that, and it was great. And we had to work and do business around it and be on. And I was taking phone calls, and I got home. I had to pack to come here, and I had like 30 minutes to just sit. I needed to just be still for a second. And I sat down, and the amount of gratitude that came over me, and I started crying. And I didn't know what was it. So I take my little dog who could tell something was wrong, and he was laying with me, and he never does that. And I put him in his little carry-on to bring him here. And it's on my dining room table. And I walk around the dining room table and grab my luggage and I leave my dog. So I get all the way to the airport, which is an hour away. And I'm going through the thing, and I realize I shot by the phone with her. I go, I don't know what I did to the dog.
Oh no.
So you can I felt so stupid. And I just giggled and I looked up at God and I said, all right, you wanted me to have a weekend to just chill and just be. Because otherwise I wake up, I take her for walks, I walk up, and just allows me to just be, and everything happens for you. But I usually would say, you stupid Kelly, that was dumb, and you're...
Beat yourself up.
And I just went, wow, you were really overworked, and it's okay. And you know, and my daughter went and picked him up, and she sends me the picture of him in his little carry-on, sitting on the dining room table. Like, boy, so in my case, I'm going to tell you right now, this is very vulnerable, and it's just less is more, man. And slow is fast. So what's next for you? And then I'm going to ask you what's next for both of you. But you go with what's next for you personally.
Big smile, because we got a big event coming up, and that is my most favorite thing. So here in about 2.5 weeks, October 15th, here at Tax Haven Orem. So what we love to do is provide true experts in their fields, right? So at some of our past events, we brought in Forbes Riley, the queen of pitch, personally sold $2.5 billion in sales on QVC by personal pitching. Who better to learn personal pitching from, right? So we've got Sam Taggart coming October 15th, who owns Door to Door Con. Who better to learn sales from than that? And we have the founders of Bucked Up coming to speak, who grew their company to the fastest growing supplement company in the country right now through ambassadors. They have 100,000 of them, you said? Who better to learn about scaling through ambassadors than those who are doing it to the extreme levels right now? We have Lindsay Hadley coming, who works with nonprofits attached to their businesses.
So let me just what you're going to do is, because this is going to air probably the week after that. I want to make sure that we know that, and we're going to keep all that in
there. Well, we have them quarterly.
That's what I was going to say. So she has these
true
events
experts.
quarterly.
They're worth flying in for, because these are not, I mean, we love our local business owners, and they're on podcasts, and we want to learn about them. But if you want to scale fast, learn from the best in the industry. So that's who we bring in for our live events. So it's worth flying in for. We'll pack the house. We'll have, 150, 200 people here. But the beauty of that also is that sometimes when people go to, like Aspire or Limitless, two things we've heard, because we know those speakers and we know the people that go. And those are great. You always want to be learning. But the speakers a lot of times feel like talking heads because they're disconnected from the audience. And the audience feels like they have no access. They're just a number in the audience of 5,000 or so. So what we've curated here is a little bit of a magical hybrid model that our audience is like, this is amazing. I get to literally have Dan Clark, who usually speaks to top 10 motivational Hall of Fame speaker in the world, in the room networking with me, sitting at my table, answering my questions afterwards. They get access, they get connection, and they get to learn from the best of the best in all of these different industries.
And I can speak from experience. These events are very intimate. They're very interactive. It is and again, if nothing else, it's a loving, energetic, positive room that you have cultivated. I know it's both of you, but you've cultivated that. Shawn, starts with you. So what's next for you, and how can my Heart and Life family support you?
Yeah, I love these events. I love what we do together. I love our podcast. We're trying to do this podcast also on the podcast we do together on site. So we're going to go out and do fly fishing with the Relentless Mama. She's a fly fisherman, fisher person, I guess.
We're going to do her interview on the river
and
while
we're going to get on
fishing.
a helicopter and do that. We're trying to get on site and do that and really expand that brand.
Trying to film Amanda Sorensen in a race car.
Yeah, in a race car.
If you haven't gotten to Utah, by the way, I meant to plug that in. This place is outstanding.
It's amazing.
So you're talking about fly fishing. We went and floated the last time I was here, floated the Provo River, and there were people fly fishing. That's part of what the healing journey is great about, guys, is I was laying in there and she's like, what's wrong? And I just was looking at the beauty of of the nature that is
Amen.
here. It is, not only are there amazing people like the two of you and all the people that we know that are here, this is a personal development mecca.
Yeah.
No.
It is.
No knock about
It's an
what's
entrepreneur
the Bravo
mecca.
show that's going on right
Yeah.
now. The real.
What is it?
The Mormon housewives.
Oh,
the
yeah.
secret-
Hey, we're just gonna
No.
pretend like that doesn't
that's
happen.
not Utah.
They're youngsters.
You know,
That's
I
not
have
Utah.
okay. I have an idea then. Since this is going out to your audience, so let's have not the January one because it's already booked, but July. Let's have you speak
Yes.
at our July event.
Yes.
Your audience can fly in for that. He's got a deal with a hotel up the street, and then the following day we can plan some of those outdoor
Yeah, we can do
adventures
something
here.
What I
outdoor.
want to do is, and I'm like you, Shawn. This is why we resonate. I want to bring. Let's get Rudy involved in this.
Yeah.
Rudy
Oh,
He-
you and
he-
Rudy for
by the
our
way, I
July
forgot to
event.
tell you,
Actually, let's
that's
do
who
that.
did this
Yes.
priming
Right.
thing with
Uh-huh.
me.
Yeah.
I forgot you guys knew him.
Yeah.
He's wild.
He
You should
is
do
wild.
it. Well,
He is a true thought leader.
So I called him
Yeah.
just to tell people the work that we do behind
Yeah.
the scenes. This is full vulnerable. I called him after he did this priming, and I said, "Did you do some kind of voodoo thing on me? Because I'm so emotional." And he said, "Kelly, I unlocked your subconscious."
Yeah.
And I just felt emotions that I thought I'd processed.
While you were telling us that experience, I was thinking about Rudy. I was like, I think Rudy got a hold of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got. So you guys have to. By the way, and again, super connectors, and I'm going to share this. His wife is incredibly beautiful, intelligent. She's got a book coming out in January.
Nice.
You guys should have
We
her
should
on
have
the show.
her
Yeah.
and Rudy and you speak on
Yep.
stage.
And it's The Universe is Hiring. You'll love it.
Yeah.
The name of the book.
Ooh, sounds
Love
good.
that.
It
Yeah,
is
I got
all
chills on
over.
that one.
That
Sounds
would-
good.
This
Yeah.
would be a great event
It's
that we
gonna be
just
a good
put
one.
together.
Yeah,
Yep.
you don't have to ask
how
me
it
to come out
works.
here in July. It is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
hooked. And guys, is there anything I asked you? Anything else that you feel compelled to share that I haven't asked?
No,
Either one of
I
you
just
guys.
think for me in closing, it's the start that stops you. I think we just experienced something that we started together. We just booked something.
We didn't just have the
I talk
idea,
to
we
people.
booked it.
Yeah, I talk
Yeah.
to people all the
This
time.
is
It's like,
happening.
once this is right, once that's right, once this is right, then I'm going to do it. No, just go out and do it. It's not going to be perfect. And then you'll eventually get better. It's where your focus goes, your energy flows. You'll start flowing after that. But you have to get there. You have to do something.
Yep.
It's just remarkable how we're all here together. And I just want to acknowledge again that I adore the two of you. The feeling that I feel around you is second to none. And I'm cultivating this in everywhere I go, but you guys take it to the next level. So if you're in Salt Lake for anything, reach out to Shawn. He will take your call
Randomly
and
Yes.
Tell you to come to an event.
absolutely.
It's true.
Right. And hey, maybe you'll meet, if you're single, you'll meet
Hey.
a perfect
Testimonial right here
perfect
for
person.
our event.
And then you can buy a pair of shoes.
Yes.
So it's always something good.
It's
So,
true.
guys, I love you very much, both
You
of
too.
you. Thanks for playing. Thanks for
you.
being on a Harder Than Life
Thank you.
podcast.
It's an honor.
Anything I can do to support you, you know the answer is
Well,
yes.
Yes.
Speaking on stage, you already
Yeah,
committed.
you are.
Done.
awesome.
Bring the people into Utah so they can experience all the
Done.
beauty.
Amen.
Done.
Thanks so much, Kelly.
Thanks, guys.
Please rate and share this podcast. I'm active on all social platforms and love to hear from my Siegel supporters. Each and every episode is sponsored by my company, National Technology Management, the easiest and best IT company to do business with, delivering peace of mind with technology every day, even simplifying cybersecurity. Visit trustntm.com for more info. Until next week, be harder than life.